I'm Isabel. As I sit here, just a few days before taking the AVMA exam, I'm filled with a mix of excitement and trepidation for my future. But my mind can't seem to shake the recent events that have turned my life upside down once again. Just 2 days ago, I opened my front door, expecting a package, and instead, I was faced with the last people I ever wanted to see, my estranged parents and my youngest brother Ethan. Their faces, so unfamiliar yet so painfully recognizable, made me freeze in my tracks. My father, Richard, was the first to speak. "We need to talk," he said, his voice steady but his eyes averted. They handed me a letter from my grandparents, accusing me of abandoning them, cutting off contact, and causing them emotional distress. I stared at the letter in disbelief, my hands shaking. Then my mother, Linda, spoke. "We need your help. Ethan's education is getting too expensive, and you're a doctor now. You have to help." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Anger welled up inside me, and I said, my voice shaking, "I didn't run away. You sent me away. Why should I be responsible for him?" My father insisted, "We don't have anyone else. If you refuse, we'll take legal action." I let out a bitter laugh. Legal action? Against someone you abandoned for 16 years? When they refused to leave, I had no choice but to call the cops. I told the officers, "They're not my parents. Legally, I'm my Aunt Vivian's daughter now." The authorities issued them a warning, but it didn't stop the harassment. My social media was flooded with hateful messages from family members, calling me selfish and ungrateful. When I told my aunt everything, she asked me, "Are you sure you did the right thing?" I didn't know how to answer. As I look back, I remember a time when my life was so different. I was the eldest child in what seemed like a perfect family. I had 2 younger siblings, Lily, who was 3 years younger than me, and Ethan, who was 5 years younger. Our father, Richard, was a successful businessman, and our mother, Linda, was a kind-hearted schoolteacher. We had normal family moments, cooking together, watching movies, and playing games on weekends. But everything changed when I was 9. My father was wrongly accused of embezzlement at his company. Despite his protests, he was fired, and our family's financial situation deteriorated rapidly. My mother, who was already struggling with the school's meager salary, couldn't support all of us on her own. One evening, my parents sat me down. My father, with a solemn expression, said, "We've made a decision. You'll stay with your grandparents for a little while, just until we get back on our feet." At first, I wasn't too worried. I loved my grandparents and their farm in the countryside. That summer, I had a great time helping with the animals and breathing in the fresh country air. But what was supposed to be a temporary arrangement turned into a permanent one. As the school year approached, my parents kept reassuring me that they were making arrangements for my return. But days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. Every time I tried to call them, I either got a busy signal or vague promises. One day, filled with anxiety, I asked my grandmother, "Why haven't they called?" She replied dismissively, "They're probably just busy. They'll get in touch when they can." But they never did. Desperate for answers, I tried to file a missing persons report, but my grandparents brushed it off as an overreaction. It was a hard realization that I had been abandoned. I had no other choice but to beg my grandparents to enroll me in school. They finally agreed, but adjusting to my new life was extremely difficult. Then, one evening, I overheard my grandmother talking on the phone in a hushed tone. My mother asked, "Is she doing okay in school?" My grandmother replied, "She's fine. I don't know how much longer we can keep this up." Hearing my mother's voice after so long sent a shock through me. I ran into the room, my heart pounding. "Mom? Mom, is that you?" There was a moment of silence, and then the call ended. I grabbed the phone, shouting into it, hoping she'd still be there. My grandmother turned to me, her face a mix of frustration and worry. "Go to your room," she snapped. I demanded answers, tears burning my eyes. Why didn't you tell me? Why have you been lying to me? But she didn't respond. Shortly after that, my grandparents sent me to live with my distant aunt, Vivian. I had never met her before, and I had no idea why. She was my mother's cousin, and I was terrified when I first arrived at her house. But Aunt Vivian was an angel. She welcomed me with open arms and made me feel safe for the first time in years. One evening, she said, "I don't know why your parents never came back for you, but I promise you'll never be alone again." From that moment on, she became the mother figure I had lost. She encouraged me to talk about my feelings and suggested therapy when she saw how deeply affected I was by my past. At first, I resisted, but eventually, I gave in. Therapy helped me understand that my abandonment wasn't my fault. As I grew up, Aunt Vivian supported me in every way possible. She was a veterinarian, and she helped me pursue my dream of becoming one too. When I turned 21, I made a life-changing decision. I sat across from her and slid adoption papers across the table. "You've been more of a mother to me than anyone else. I want you to be my legal parent," I told her. Tears welled up in her eyes as she reached for my hand. "I'd be honored," she said. With her by my side, I finally found the stability I had always longed for. I completed my degree and started working as a veterinary intern. I moved into my own apartment, but I visited my aunt whenever I could. Life was peaceful. But then my biological family reappeared, disrupting the peace I had worked so hard to build. After they caused a scene at my workplace, my therapist suggested I talk to them for closure. I resisted for a long time, but eventually, I agreed. I met them with my aunt beside me. My father admitted, "We sent you away because we couldn't afford to keep you." I asked, "And when things got better?" He hesitated and then said, "We just couldn't afford to bring you back. Now they wanted my money." I said coldly, "You're only here because you think I owe you." My mother sighed and said, "We thought maybe you feel guilty." Her words stung, but I refused to waver. "I don't owe you anything. If you come near me again, I'll take action." I walked away, ignoring their pleas for forgiveness. I felt nothing for them anymore. As time passed, the messages stopped, and they disappeared from my life once again. I'm now looking forward to my new residency program, which will take me even further away from my past. Just when I thought things had settled, another problem emerged: my sister-in-law, Penelope. She was a few years younger than me, and I had hoped she would be mature. But I was wrong. The trouble started when I met my husband, Lucas. We met by chance when he helped me move, and after chatting at a local bar, we hit it off immediately. We've been together for 6 years now, and he's definitely the love of my life. The rest of his family has been very welcoming, but Penelope never seemed to approve of our relationship. She once warned me, "My brother never gets serious about anyone. Don't get your hopes up." Our relationship problems became more obvious during our wedding 2 years ago. Because of her cold attitude and snide remarks, I initially didn't want to include her as a bridesmaid. But she said, "If I'm not part of the bridal party, I won't even attend the wedding." To avoid drama, I reluctantly made her a bridesmaid. But then she showed up in a white floral dress, causing a huge uproar. My in-laws were furious and told her to either change or not come to any more family events. She eventually apologized, but I should have known it wouldn't last. When I found out I was pregnant, I was over the moon. My husband and I couldn't wait to share the news, and our families were excited too, except for Penelope. Instead of celebrating with us, she kept shifting the focus to herself. At a family gathering, when we announced the pregnancy, she said, "Oh, you're lucky. I had to go through pregnancy all alone." Still, I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. When she offered to host my baby shower, I was grateful at first. But then she insisted on having it at a venue 1,200 miles away. She said it was a surprise at a luxurious place owned by a friend and that we wouldn't have to pay for anything. Something felt off, but when I voiced my concerns, Lucas reassured me, she's just trying to do something nice for us. You're overthinking it. I traveled there with my aunt, while my in-laws, who were out of the country, couldn't attend. As soon as I arrived, I knew something was wrong. The venue was beautifully decorated, but most of the guests were strangers. To my shock, I saw another pregnant woman wearing the exact same white dress Penelope had gifted me. I realized then that this wasn't my baby shower. Penelope had tricked me into attending a different event for her friend. I left in tears, humiliated and hurt. Lucas confronted her immediately. She said it was just a misunderstanding, but we knew she was just being manipulative. When Lucas's parents heard about what happened, they were livid. They had supported Penelope financially for years, but they decided it was time to stop. They told her, "We've helped you long enough. You're on your own now." And they warned her not to come back until she learned to take responsibility for her actions. Of course, Penelope blamed me for everything. But I never asked my in-laws to stop supporting her. That was their decision. Despite her attempts to play the victim, I refused to feel guilty for her actions. My mother-in-law planned a real baby shower for me. She promised, "We'll make sure this one is perfect." But on the day of the party, when everything was going well, Penelope showed up uninvited. She had found out about the event through social media and stormed in, shouting, "How can they throw you a party while they refuse to help me financially?" That was the last straw for my mother-in-law. She calmly but firmly said, "That's enough. You're leaving." She escorted Penelope out and apologized to everyone for the disruption. Afterward, my in-laws repeatedly apologized to me and even suggested I take legal action against Penelope. While I'm hesitant to go that far, Lucas and I have agreed to keep all information about our baby off social media to prevent her from causing more trouble. The whole experience has been exhausting. I can't understand why Penelope is so obsessed with competing with me. She's ruined 2 baby showers out of jealousy. I know my in-laws weren't initially supportive of her pregnancy because she had a child out of wedlock, which went against their traditional values. But they came around after the baby was born. It's clear she still holds a grudge. Since the shower, I haven't heard from her, and my in-laws have made it clear that they're done with her behavior. Frankly, I don't care anymore. I just want to focus on my baby and my future. I'm determined to move forward and leave these troubled past events behind me as I step into a new chapter of my life.